everybody, welcome back. Today I'm here with Ethan. Hello Ethan.
Hey.
And today what are we making?
We are making egg roll in a bowl.
Egg roll in a bowl. That has a little rhyme to it. I like a little rhyme, and I like egg rolls. So this sounds pretty good, to be honest. What about you? What do you think?
I think it's delicious.
Now you brought this recipe to us today, and so you're going to kind of be our expert as we walk through it. Why don't we start by talking about what ingredients go into this? And we have our list here on our directions.
In the ingredients, there is toasted sesame,
Okay.
garlic,
Yep, got a lot of that.
onion,
Oh yeah, we got that over there.
green onions,
Got those.
ground pork,
Yep, got 2 pounds.
ground ginger,
Ground ginger in here.
sea salt,
Sea salt.
black pepper,
Black pepper.
sriracha,
All right, we have a garlic chili, which is kind of the same thing,
coconut aminos,
which I didn't even know what this was. Apparently this is like some sort of a soy sauce alternative thing. Cool.
and unseasoned rice vinegar,
Got that.
toasted sesame seeds,
Got them.
and most of all, yum yum sauce.
And you were excited about this, right?
Yes.
Even though this is just something you kind of top it with, like a condiment. But yeah, that stuff is delicious.
Yes.
If you haven't had it, yum yum sauce. This is like what they serve like the hibachi restaurants and all.
Yes, yes.
So we have both washed our hands. We've both, I've got my apron over there. And what we're going to do to get started is, well, let's talk about this thing. So for one, the recipe that they can print off, okay? The recipe that you can print off is for one amount. We are doubling that amount today, right? Because we're going to kind of cook for a group and make it for some other people to share. So we're going to double everything in here. And you can always do that at home. You could also triple it. You could quadruple it. You can make like a dump truck full of this stuff if you wanted to.
Fun for the whole family.
Fun for the whole family. And all you got to do is multiply the amounts that are on the recipe by whatever amount that you want to double. So today we're doubling it. We're going to multiply everything by 2 and do that. Everything that we cook is going into this right here.
Yes.
This one pan, which is fun because that makes it's easy. We're just going to put it in here, cook a couple items, put some more items in there, cook them, put some more, blah, 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 all the way to the end. So we have everything that we're going to make is going to go in this pan. To get started, we're going to have to put some oil in that pan, and we're going to start getting that warmed up while Ethan and I will be cutting up our onions that are going to be going in there, our green onions and our white onions.
Try not to cry.
We're going to try not to cry, hopefully not. If so, it's not because we're sad. It's actually that we're very happy, but the onions are doing it. So let's put some oil in, and then we can bring the camera over here and we can talk about the rest of our ingredients as we cut up our onions. Cool? So this calls for 2 tablespoons of oil, but we want to double it. So we need to put how many tablespoons in there?
4.
We're going to put 4 tablespoons of toasted sesame oil. And I'll tell you, Ethan, this I had to go all over for. And it turns out, maybe I was just looking in the wrong place, but there is sesame oil, that's a thing, and then there's toasted sesame oil. And when I was researching this, I looked up online to see if you could use sesame oil in place of toasted sesame oil. No, 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 you cannot. The internet says it will not taste the same, so you actually have to make sure that you got the toasted sesame oil, which we have, which is great.
Never would have thought that.
Me either, because I've cooked with sesame oil before, never toasted. I thought, whatever, I can probably just replace it with sesame. Nope, the internet says it would have tasted terrible. I doubt that. It probably would have tasted fine, but I'm glad that we looked it up and we've got our toasted sesame oil. So we're going to put the oil in there, and while we're cutting up the rest of the stuff, we may not even turn it on, but we can go ahead and put it in there, because what we're going to do is we're going to heat the oil up, get it hot, and that's what we're going to cook down these other ingredients. So we have here's a tablespoon, and we need 4 tablespoons of oil. So here you go, I'll let you do that. And I'll take the top off here, and there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Awesome, great job. So there we go, easy enough. Just like that, step 1 complete. We've got our, I'll put our oily thing here so it doesn't get everywhere. We now have our oil in the pan. Next up, we'll bring y'all over here and we'll talk through our ingredients as we cut up our onions. Come on. All right, so we have our 2 ingredients that we have to prep, which are both onions actually. They're just different kinds of onions. We have a regular onion here. This is a white onion. There's yellow onions, Vidalia onions, whatever, onion. Then we also have green onions. And what's interesting about this recipe, we were talking about it, we actually are going to use both parts of the green onion. So it's called a green onion, but there is a white part down here, and then there's a green part up here. And we're actually going to use both parts of that onion for different things. So when you're gonna prep those onions for us, when you do that, each one has a little bottom here with the root. So you're just going to cut that little root piece off, and then we have our trash can under here. You can just toss it in there. And then what you'll do is you'll cut up here at about where the white part ends, okay? Kind of like that. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut, and really, you're supposed to cut it diagonally. Whatever, I don't care if you cut it diagonally or not. The goal is to get it cut. But people will like to cut it diagonally, which you can do, or you can just cut it straight down like that, okay? And all we're trying to do is get some little slices like that. And notice how it's getting more green as we go up. So we actually are going to want to mainly stick to the white part down here. Once we get up into this, you can toss it if you want. So that's the white part of the onion. Then for the green part, the same thing. I'm going to cut off kind of the bottom piece. And then I might even go from the top end here, where it's the most green. And I'm just going to cut, and notice kind of what I'm doing. I'm pushing down and slicing through. Okay? And so you're going to do that for all the rest of those onions, the green onions, and then I'm going to chop these, I'm going to dice these white onions over here. And if you have some leftovers or whatever, it's no big deal. We got plenty of onions. And then you can leave them on yours or put them over here, whatever you want to do. Because once we get these cut, we're going to turn on our oil over here, get it heated up, and then we're going to be starting by, we're going to put the garlic, this onion, and then we're actually going to put just the white part. So you know what? Should have thought about that too.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're going to need to separate these when we cut them. So I'll make kind of like a green area down here, and then you can give us a white area and a green area, and we'll do our best. It's cooking. It doesn't have to be perfect. What do you think? Pretty cool?
Yes.
You can start on those. I'll start on these, and we'll see how we do. I'm going to toss my scraps down here underneath. And look here, all I'm doing is I'm cutting them long ways one way, and I'm holding them together so that I don't lose all my onion pieces go flying. And then I just come back through and I cut the opposite direction, and that dices it, which is basically just little squares of onion. Okay, now our ingredients call for a half a cup of onions diced. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our half cup and I'm going to kind of put some onions in there. And guess what? We could probably use just one onion and it'll be doubled because it'll be a full cup of onion. So that's all we're going to need to use for the big onion. So now we have this left over, and I'll move that out of the way. Oh, nice, great job on the white onion parts, yeah. And so we've got, can I cut a couple of these too? And I'm going to keep trying to cut some of these white parts off. We can use the white part of the onion all the way up until the green if we want. And then I'll get some. That green onion is kind of hard to cut.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of like papery or whatever.
Also kind of hard to cut when your eyes are burning.
Yeah, are you feeling it in your eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah, grab some of those. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn on our oven back here, our stove, for the, and it says to put it on medium-high heat. So I'm going to get it pretty hot back there. Try not to lose too much onion. And you know, cooking with onions is great because, you know, right now they're kind of harsh. They burn your eyes and they smell, you know, they wouldn't be real, at least for me. Some people like eating onions. Have you ever seen the movie Holes?
Yes.
They like eating onions. But me, I don't really like eating onions like that. I like to eat them when they're cooked. And when they're cooked, they don't hurt your eyes and stuff. Awesome. It's getting pretty good. How's your cutting going over there? Pretty good?
Good. I'm down to one.
Awesome. So as you finish that up, the first step is going to be we have our oil that's in the pan and it's heating up right now. It's on medium-high heat. We now have our white onions here I mean the white part of our green onions here. We have the green part of our green onions here. And what we're gonna, and then I have the white onions here. And as we said, the recipe calls for a half a cup of diced onions, these onions. And that's certainly gonna be a half a cup, but we need to double it. So we're looking at needing a full cup of onions. And honestly, that's more than a full cup, but I think it's fine. We'll just use all these onions. Are you good with that? You like onions?
Yeah.
My eyes are, can you feel your eyes?
Yeah.
So the oil's heating up. The next step is we're gonna put our garlic, we're gonna put our onion, we're gonna put our white part of the green onion in there, and we're gonna cook that until it's nice and cooked and the onions are turning a little bit clear. And after that, we're gonna be putting in...
Isn't that what caramelizing is?
Yeah, well, we may not want to caramelize them because that's when they turn brown, but we do want to turn them translucent, which means they're going to get soft and they're going to kind of start looking clear as opposed to that white that you can't see through. Then we're going to add the ground pork, the ginger, the salt, pepper, and the sriracha, or in this case, the chili garlic sauce, and we're going to cook that up. And then we're going to end by putting in our coleslaw, as well as our rice vinegar and our coconut aminos. And we're going to do that until, we're going to cook that until the coleslaw gets kind of tender. You know, right here, it's crispy. It's crispy and crunchy in this bag. We're going to cook it in there until it kind of tenders up. And then the very last thing we're going to do is sprinkle some of this on top, put some of our toasted sesame seeds on top, and we are good to go. So let's bring the camera over here to our simmer pan, and we can show everybody as we start cooking up those first ingredients. All right, so this is now, our oil that's in there is now hot enough, and that's good, a good sign. People may be wondering, why do we have a pot of boiling water over there? Well, what else did you want to make with this dish that we're making for the side?
Noodles.
So we have some stir-fry rice noodles here that we wanted to make. So we had the water going, and I think it's ready for us to put those in there. So if you want to take that top off, I'll dump those in there. I have to open it up. Watch out for the steam, it can be hot. And once we... Well, might need a knife for this. So once I open this up...
Do not attempt at home.
Yeah, make sure you're using knives safely, as always. And so we will get this in here. Cool. And those are going to cook for 4 to 6 minutes in this water. But as we do that, it is time for our oil to go in. So to do that, we need to put in first our onions and our garlic. So you get our garlic here, okay? And how many cloves of garlic did it say to use? I believe it said to use three cloves of garlic.
I said 3 cloves minced.
Now, people at home, it's fun to cut up fresh garlic. But if you don't, then each clove of garlic is equal to 1 tablespoon. 1 teaspoon. 3 cloves of garlic is equal to 1 tablespoon. Mm-hmm. So we need 1 of these, but we're doubling our recipe, so we need 2 of those. So why don't you put our garlic in our pan for us, and I'll get our onions. And you're going to just dump that right in there. So 1 and 2. And then I've got the white part of our green onions in there. Nice. All right, can you smell that? It already smells good. And what we're going to do now is we're going to cook this until the onions are getting clear, until they're starting to get soft and clear. And that might take just a couple minutes. We'll let it do its thing. Meanwhile, we have our noodles cooking, and at about 6 minutes, we're going to take those off and we're going to have them for our dish later on today. Again, the noodles are not a part of this recipe, but certainly you can serve this dish over noodles or over rice. We're using kind of a combination. We're using rice noodles,
yes,
which is cool. You had mentioned you wanted to use like lo mein noodles, right?
Lo mein or rice.
Lo mein or rice, which is cool. So, you know, it's up to everybody. Maybe, I don't know, maybe other people have other things they'd like to use. So what do you think? How do these things look? Not bad, huh?
I think it looks pretty delicious.
Now, as these cook...
We're not even done.
We're not even done, yeah. I could eat this, and this is nowhere near as good as it's going to get. Let's see. Where's our recipe? Do you have a recipe back here?
Yes.
So let's see. What do we have? What's going to be coming on next?
The thing that is coming on next is add the ground pork, ginger, salt, pepper, and sriracha.
So,
and then we gotta cook and stir until the pork is done.
Okay, so that we're going to need to put in our ground pork, which we have This recipe calls for 1 pound of ground pork, but we're doubling it, so we have 2 pounds of ground pork. What else are we going to have to? What else are we going to have to put in there?
We need to put some ginger.
Okay, so maybe you can bring our ginger over here. And these are looking great already. So we got our ginger. What else do we need to put in there?
We need to put in the... we need to put in the...
I think it said maybe black pepper, salt.
Oh yeah, salt, pepper, and sriracha.
All right.
Salt.
So bring over that salt, bring over that ginger, bring over that black pepper, bring over that sriracha, the pork. So for the ground ginger, we're supposed to put in 1/2 teaspoon, but because we're doubling it, we need to put in a whole teaspoon. Yeah. And then for the sriracha, we're supposed to put in 1 tablespoon, but because we're doubling it,
2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons. So we have our measuring spoons over here too. And see these caps, can I see that? Can I see our ginger? These caps are pretty cool, these containers, because they have multiple ways of operating it. So you can either open it up in the big area, which I like to use because you can actually usually stick the whole measuring spoon down in there. Or if you ever need to sprinkle it on stuff, you've got the sprinkle side. Or if you ever just want to kind of dump out into a measuring cup a bigger clump at a time, you've got that side. So that's pretty good. So we're going to need 1 full teaspoon of that, correct? And 2 full tablespoons of our sriracha sauce. Awesome. This is looking pretty good. When it says translucent, that means these need to be looking basically like this, all right? So if we're ready, let's go ahead and put in our other ingredients. Do you have our measuring spoon?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can I put in the ginger?
Yes.
So this is the tablespoon. So here, you want to do that one first since you have it already?
And just so everybody knows, you're supposed to do the onions translucent opaque, not translucent as in completely clear.
Okay, perfect. And these are looking good. They've softened up. They've got a little bit of clearness to them. Opacity. I don't even know how you say that. All right, so why don't you give us 2 tablespoons of that? I can hold anything you need. Nice. Oh yeah. Now we're getting spicy. Awesome. So you can close that up, and then I'll take the measuring spoon and I'll put in the ginger, which we need 1 full tablespoon. So I'm going to find, 1 full teaspoon. So there's 1/4 teaspoon, there's a whole teaspoon, so I'm going to use that. And we'll see. I'm going to use this part here, the one that I opened that I could say you could pour some in. And so to do that, you don't want to go. It can come out kind of fast sometimes. Sometimes you got to break it up a little bit. Nope. Fighting me just a little bit. That's pretty good for 1. I'm going to see if I can't get this spoon down in this one on this second one. See if I can make it a little bit easier on myself. And to do that, yep, sure enough I can. See how it's like the perfect size to be able to adjust the perfect size to be able to get that spoon there and kind of slide it out so that I have enough. Cool. All right, now we also at this point are done with our noodles. So if you want, we can turn that off and you can take those noodles over there to the sink. I'll tell you what, why don't you put the pork in and then we'll get our noodles in just a second. I already turned it off. We also needed some salt and pepper. Now the salt and pepper you're supposed to put to taste. Okay, so what that usually means to me is I'll put in a pretty good amount of pepper, and then I'll put in a decent amount of salt, but I don't like putting too much salt because you can always put more salt. You can't take it out once it's in there. So it's usually better, that smells great. It's usually better to start with limited salt and then add more if you taste it at the end and it needs more salt. All right, and our salt is right here. Yeah, go ahead and put our pork in. Right, and you can just kind of dump it in there if you want, the whole thing. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And we have pound number 2 of the pork. And then we also have kind of our fancy little tool we use for chopping up meat, right? It's in there like ground beef or ground pork.
You probably want to put it in there next to it so it doesn't.
Oh, kind of like next side to side, so that way they both have room to cook.
Yeah, and then both have room to mash.
Cool. And then, do you want to take over the mashing part?
Yes.
So we've got our little device there. Meanwhile, I'm going to take our noodles over here and get them taken care of. Okay, so our pork looks pretty good. What do you think? And it's going to continue to cook if it needs maybe just 1 or 2 more minutes. Next up is time for the rest of our ingredients. And at this point, this is the last step that we're actually going to cook, because once we cook these ingredients in, all that's left to do is to top it with some last minute things, but at that point it's good to eat. So this is the last part of our actual cooking process. We're going to add, it calls for 14 ounces, a bag of coleslaw mix, which is basically just cabbage and carrots and stuff like that. You could use any variety of kinds of things that you want in here, but a 14-ounce bag. This one is actually 16 ounces, but guess what? We don't care, because cooking is not always a science. It's more of a creative process. So a couple extra ounces of coleslaw, no big deal. It calls for 1 bag. I have 2 because we're doubling it. So I'm going to dump these guys in there. And if you can see all that steam that is coming out of our pan while we're cooking the sausage and stuff, that's good, because that's going to help steam down all this cabbage. And I'll show you a trick here in just a second for how we can make that even better. So bag number 2, look at all that. This is a healthy dish now. We went from not healthy to downright healthy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, kind of carefully, I don't want to spill it everywhere, but I can kind of try to stir it in a little bit, see if I can do it without spilling up too much. But it's okay, and I'll show you why. All this cabbage, all this coleslaw mix is going to get way smaller, because as it cooks, it's going to turn tender, and that's going to make it kind of melt down here into the pan a little bit.
And it's also going to marinate into the meat.
For sure. Okay, so let's do this. We have a couple more ingredients to add, right?
Yes.
We need to add our coconut aminos, which is basically a soy sauce type thing. I don't really understand the difference, but it's all right. It's what it calls for, and we got it. Coconut aminos. The recipe that we have that you can print off calls for 3 tablespoons, but again, we are what?
We fixed double, so it'd be 6.
So we're doubling the recipe, so we need 6 instead of 3. So you want to go ahead and pour 6 of those. And here's a trick too. If you'll hold it over the top when you pour it, then guess what? If you spill some, it's no big deal. So fill it all the way to the top. Fill it all the way to the top. And if it goes over a little bit, whatever. Nice. 2, 3, nice. 4, 5, that one needs a little bit more. 6, maybe give us 1 more, because we kind of got a little halfway on those. Perfect. That looks great. So that's about 6 tablespoons of aminos.
I was trying to disperse it.
Nice, good. And then the next thing we need is what?
The white rice vinegar.
White rice vinegar, and this is particularly I think it called for like unflavored or something. So basically this doesn't have any sugar or anything else in it. It's just the vinegar. And how many tablespoons did that say for in the recipe? I think it said for 1 tablespoon.
It said
But
but we double it.
But we double it, so we're going to use
it'll be
2. Perfect. All right. And again, if you pour it over top, then it's okay if you spill. And make sure you get the whole thing filled up, because that way we have enough. Awesome. There's 1. And 1 more. Awesome. 2. Perfect. And so now, all we got to do is kind of stir this up together, try to get all the ingredients mixed, the coleslaw, the pork, all the sauces and spices and stuff. And we're going to let it cook. And as it cooks, if you can see some of this steam that's coming off the top, that's going to cause this coleslaw to get real tender. And when it gets tender, it's going to cook down, and it's going to take up less room in the pan. So look, that's a pretty good mix right there. Now here's something. If you really want to, you can always put the top on, and watch. The top's going to start fogging up because all that steam is going to be coming up.
And it condensates.
And it's going to, exactly. So exactly right. So it's kind of like a science experiment too. It's going to condensate here on top of that. And if you want, you can leave the top on for a little bit, and that'll help steam everything that's in there, which is going to help those coleslaw and all that cabbage and carrots and stuff. It's going to help them tender up even faster. But you don't have to, and sometimes it's fun to let it steam out and let it stir. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll stir this up some more, and in just a second, this thing is going to be nearing completion. All right, this is looking great. And Ethan, you were just mentioning that there's still some like water, some juice kind of down here in the bottom that's cooking. All this steam that we see is that juice being turned into steam and cooked out of there. But we're not necessarily always going to get all of it out of there. And what's okay is that when we serve this in a minute, we can actually use that juice to our advantage and pour some of it on top of our rice. It's almost like a little gravy or something in there too, which sounds delicious. Ethan, tell me what you think. I know how I feel about it, but how do you think this smells right now?
Really good.
Really, really good. So at this point, the last thing that we would need to do is top it with some sesame seeds and some green onions. So we have our green onions. And so we've got our green onions, and all we're going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this stove off, all right? Because at this point, we're done. All we got to do is we're going to take some green onions and kind of sprinkle some on the top. Doesn't that look fancy?
Yes.
And then we've got our toasted sesame seeds, and kind of the same thing. No real rhyme or reason to it. We're just going to toss that on top too. And when you make a plate for yourself, you could certainly put some more on if you want. So look at this. At this point, oh my goodness, we are looking really good. What do you think? You want to try this out, see how it tastes?
I'm going to wait till it's on a plate.
Well, yeah, not out of here. We'll put it on a plate. Let's do that. I'm not sure I can wait much longer. All right, come on over. We'll give this a taste. All right, well, this looks really good, and it smells even better. And we talked about our noodles earlier. We have our noodles that are now cooked, and we have them in a bowl. They've just been kind of resting, waiting on the the moment of truth. And we are using paper plates. Why? Well, it helps clean up, be a breeze, right? Less to have to wash, because you do want to make sure that you clean up everything that you've washed after you finish cooking. You don't want to leave a kitchen dirty for the next person, because then it's hard for them to be able to cook. And if you need to cook and it's not ready to go, then you're going to starve. We don't want that. So, would you like some noodles in your bowl?
Yes, please.
All right. And again, we talked about having some of that juice in the bottom of our pan, which is great. And we'll just get there's some for you. You want to spoon some of that on there, and make sure you get plenty of that cabbage, a good cabbage in there. We have all those good ingredients. We've got our garlic, our pork. And Ethan, as far as making this goes, what do you think? Not too hard?
Not too hard.
Here, you want some of this juice on yours?
Yeah, let's get some of the juice. Thank you.
Nice. Oh wow, yeah, this and it looks hot too. It's steaming up pretty good right now. I'm gonna put a little juice on mine. Yum. Okay, well, now all we need is some silverware. Fork for you.
Thank you.
And again, we've done a good job today of making sure that our ingredients, we have the right amount. We had to double our recipe, so that makes it a little bit harder because you have to do the math of figuring out how much from the regular recipe to the doubled recipe. You know what you also have?
Yum
Did
yum.
you want to put that on there?
Yeah.
And as we are doing this, we talked about when we put our green onions and our toasted sesame seeds on the top, if somebody wanted to, they could obviously take some more and put some more on theirs, right, if they wanted to. Do you want any more toasted sesame seeds?
Yes, please.
And so you can put some of those on there. Nice. Yep. And I'd say I'm about ready to taste this. What do you say?
Yeah, I'll wait a little bit.
I'm not waiting. I'm going for it. I'll give it a nice little blow and cool it off. Oh boy. All right, I got some noodles. I got some. I'll tell you what, I'm going to taste it without the noodles first, since that was our regular recipe. So here is just the egg roll in a bowl. Oh, that's hot. Wow. Hey, that's awesome. That's really good. Oh my goodness. It does. It tastes like an egg roll, It's like all the ingredients that you would have. All right, I'm going to taste it with the noodles. Let's see if it does anything different. That is really tasty. That pork is great. Oh yeah.
Try it with a little bit of yum yum.
A little bit of yum yum on there?
Yeah.
Don't mind if I do. You like it with the yum yum?
Yes.
Put just a little bit.
It adds to the flavor.
So there we go. We got some yum yum on there now. I got my noodles. Yeah, if you've never had yum yum sauce, it's kind of like a cheat code, really. It just turns anything delicious. Oh yeah. Man, that is really, really good. Awesome. So, you can taste some of those like Asian-inspired flavors in here too. We've got some of that ginger, some of that chili garlic sauce, that sriracha style stuff. All in all, what do you give it? 0 to 10, what do you think?
11.
11. I like it a lot. Ethan, thanks for being a part of this one. Thanks for bringing us a great recipe. Hope you all have enjoyed it. Hey, if you want to make this recipe, as we said, this one was not very hard. It's just a couple of ingredients. It's one pan. We don't hardly have anything to clean up anymore. Great. All-around recipe. Thanks, Ethan. Thank you all. We'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.